This video is going to go over rotation and a couple of other related functions. Uh, and this is building off of our basic shapes and colors that we can use to create still lives. So we're going to get started with a simple shape. I'm just going to write a rectangle. And the way we've been doing it is we have been determining a starting point. And I'm going to go ahead and make this a square. So the starting point is 100 on the x and 200 on the y-axis, and then it's 50 wide and 50 tall. So it will show up as a square. So we can then begin to rotate it. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose rotate. And the trick with rotate is if you just write a number in here, it is a number in radians, which I don't want to get into. So we're usually used to talking about rotation in degrees, with 360 degrees being a full circle. So to translate this to degrees, you are actually going to write radians and then the number of degrees in parentheses. So this is going to give me a rotation of 45 degrees, and we're going to see what that looks like, and it's going to be messy because it is rotating not just the rectangle, but everything. And notice kind of rotating it from the center, the upper left here, the origin point. So it's kind of rotating everything. So it's really messy. So we need to kind of bring this back in. And usually what that means with rotate is we're going to do a couple of things. And so this is confusing at first, but once you get the hang of it, it is pretty straightforward. So when we're rotating, we usually want to limit the rotate to the specific shape we want to rotate. So there's a couple ways we could do that. We could do rotate, rect, and then after this, write another rotate command. But we're probably going to want to do a couple of other things within here to make this show up properly. So what we're going to use is a push matrix, followed at the end of what we want to do by a pop matrix. And this is basically just limiting whatever code is in here. It's just limiting it to that particular area so that you are not going to affect the, for example, the grid lines, which show up down here. So when I run this, I in fact still don't see anything, and that again is because it's rotating my rectangle that was at 100, 200, and it's rotating it off the screen. So let me go ahead and just so we can hopefully see this, I'll go ahead and move this to 300 and 100. So that's where it's supposed to start, but the fact is it's rotating at 45 degrees, so it was supposed to start here. And then 45 degrees from here brings it down here. Now we also don't want to do that because we still want it to be at 300 and 100. So we need to do something else. We need to make the rectangle at 0, 0. And we need to add a translate function and then say translate to 300, 100. So it's going to do everything and then move it to 300, 100. So now it hopefully will be in the right spot, and it is now rotated 45 degrees, so you have a nice diamond shape. So that is the basics of the rotating, and you usually are going to do that in a push and a pop matrix. And the other code that I want to introduce, especially with rectangles, is sometimes you're going to want to change the mode. So I can write rect mode, and in here I can write center in all caps. And what that is going to do is that's going to change slightly the position of the rectangle so that the 300, 100 is in the center of that rectangle, which is really nice when you are rotating objects.